Hello and welcome to Smash Hit Sports. I'm your host, Cody. It's college football rivalry week, the best week of the year for college football. We're going to recap last week. We're going to talk through the top 5 rivalries in college football for rivalry weekend. So we're going to exclude, the ones not on rivalry weekend. We're going to talk through the best games of the weekend and then give some college football playoff predictions. Can't wait to talk through it all. We're going to get right into it, but first, I just want to apologize for missing last week. My wife and I had a death in the family. We had to take care of that, but we are back this week. Also, the NFL podcast normally releases on Thursday. However, because Thursday is Thanksgiving, I'm going to take the day off for the holiday. We're going to release the NFL podcast a day early. It's going to come out tomorrow on Wednesday. So that way we can preview all of the Thanksgiving games and really look forward to a full week of NFL football. But getting right into the college football recap. College football week 12 was crazy. We had a lot of ups and downs. The AP top 25, nobody really jumped out from a, looked incredibly good standpoint, at least in the top echelon of teams. But there's one game that we absolutely have to talk about, and that is the Tennessee Volunteers. A absolutely brutal loss at the hands of South Carolina. The Gamecocks went crazy. 63 points, I think, is what the Gamecocks scored. Tennessee, I think it was like 63-36 or something. Just an absolutely brutal blow for Tennessee fans. And Tennessee fans, I think we have to look at this season from a 30,000-foot view, right? If you look at it from a top-down perspective, if I'd have told you at the beginning of the year, Tennessee fans, you were going to go 10-2, you'd have been like, hell yeah, what a season. Like if I had told you, hey, you were going to beat Alabama for the first time in 16 years, you'd have been like, hell yes. Like what an unbelievable year. Unfortunately, you got your hopes up because you were at one point the number 1 team in the country. And sucks to lose the way you did, but it is what it is. The other thing that really sucks, I feel awful for Hendon Hooker, tore his ACL, out for the season. I think his Heisman candidacy is now out of the realm of possibility as well. But he had a phenomenal season, one that Vols fans will remember forever. It's just tough to be a Tennessee fan right now. I think there is an off chance that Tennessee still can make it into the college football playoff. It would take absolute pandemonium. We will talk about it later when we get to the college football playoff segment, but there's still a small glimmer of hope. However, your season is essentially gone, at least from a college football playoff standpoint. Obviously, you were going to make a great bowl game, a ton of success for the Tennessee Volunteers. You got a lot to look forward to. Josh Heupel has looked like the real deal down there for the Vols. South Carolina, on the other hand, Beamer ball is all the way back. And South Carolina has had, the highs have been high this year. The lows have been low. The highs have been high. The lows have been low. But I think this is a year that you can build on if you were a Gamecock. And I think you have a lot to look forward to. I really do. Beamer ball, it's new, right? This era of Shane Beamer as the head coach there is new. I think it's his, second season, but you still have a lot to look forward to. You should be excited if you're a Gamecocks fan. One thing I do want to talk about is the SEC, and I got a lot of hate for a post that I made on TikTok, and I got a lot of hate for saying that the SEC scheduling these soft-ass games in November is just that. It's soft. And I'm going to stand by that take. You look at what half of the SEC schedule was this weekend. Mississippi State, Alabama, Texas A&M playing teams like UMass, Austin, PA, East Tennessee State. Auburn played Western Kentucky. LSU played UAB. It's chicken shit. It's soft. No other conference does this. No other conference in football and I understand that the SEC only plays 8 conference games. That's fine. I think that's chicken shit. I think you need to play 9, like literally every other Power 5 conference. But if you are going to play 8, at least play conference games in November before your conference championship. It's bullshit that Alabama is playing Austin, PA, or Austin P, at the end of the year. What are we doing? I want to see Bryce Young play meaningful football. And the last 2 games I'm going to get to see him play because he's going to sit out the bowl game. He ain't playing. The last 2 meaningful games I'm going to get to see Bryce Young play in an Alabama uniform are Austin P and at Auburn in the Iron Bowl with an interim head coach. It's bullshit. It's terrible. It's awful scheduling. Greg Sankey, we got to be better. I understand that you're giving your team some cupcakes before they go into rivalry weekend and the SEC championship. It is soft as baby shit. You got to move on. There's got to be something better than this. With that being said, moving on to the rest of this week's recap. USC UCLA in the Rose Bowl was beautiful. It was art. It was college football at its best. The beauty of what college football can be, and in the Pac-12. And I understand that the Pac-12 gets a lot of hate for being soft. They are not this year. The Pac-12 is damn good. They have 3-loss Utah, 2-loss Oregon, 2-loss UCLA, 2-loss Washington, and 1-loss USC. There's a lot to be excited about if you are a fan of football on the West Coast. This game was awesome. There were 100 points scored. Caleb Williams put on an absolutely electric Heisman-level performance, 500 total yards. He was the real deal. It was absolutely incredible. Dorian Thompson-Robinson for UCLA played a hell of a game. Zach Charbonnet, unfortunately, they had a tough interception to end that game, but it was great. It was awesome. The environment in the Rose Bowl was incredible. It brought Pac-12 football back to what Pac-12 football should be. USC, you got a lot to play for. I'm going to talk about USC Notre Dame later, but that is going to be a hell of a game. Hell of a game this coming weekend for Rivalry Week. Speaking of Notre Dame absolutely owns the ACC. Obviously, I'm a Notre Dame fan, so I'm going to talk about Notre Dame. But they dismantled Boston College in a blizzard, a beautiful, picturesque college football game. This Notre Dame football team is scary, but what a lot of teams earlier in the year shit on Notre Dame for overrated, whatever. And we lost to Ohio State and then Marshall and Stanford. And I get it. Bad losses. We've also beat UNC by 3 touchdowns, beat Clemson by 3 touchdowns, beat Boston College 44-0. Like these, we've won good. We beat BYU in Vegas. Like Notre Dame is not some soft team, and they go into USC next weekend. That will be a hell of a game with a lot of playoff implications. It'll say a lot about the state of Notre Dame's program. And Notre Dame, Vegas had Notre Dame winning 8 games this year. They've already won those 8 games. So it'll be interesting. This is going to say a lot about the Marcus Freeman era, in my opinion. I think it's going to, if he can win 2 top 10 matchups, a top 10 matchup against Clemson and a top 10 matchup against USC, that's a lot. I don't know how many years it took Brian Kelly to win 2 top 10 games, but for Freeman to do it in his first season would be awesome. Let's talk about the top 4 as a whole, though. The top 4 had some absolutely scary games, if you are a fan of any of those teams. I mean, you want to talk about heart palpitations, Michigan, TCU. I mean, those games were as close as they come. But we're going to start with the number 1 spot in Georgia. Georgia, who I think a lot of people have been saying that they are on a tier of their own, looked absolutely mortal against this Kentucky team that isn't very good, to be honest. They run the football well. Will Levis is not him. He's not a first-round quarterback. I'm sorry, Kentucky fans. It is what it is. But Georgia looked human. They looked very, very human. They scored 1 offensive touchdown against Kentucky. I'm like, that ain't going to fly against LSU in the SEC championship. I can tell you that right now. But we'll see. We're going to relax a little bit. Georgia's still going to be fine. And number 2, Ohio State. If it wasn't for, that awful fumble, well, not awful. I mean, they were trying to make a play, whatever, at the end of the Maryland game. That was a 1-possession game right down to the end. Your defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. You made Talia look like Tua looks currently for the Dolphins. Ohio State, you're going to have to toughen up if you're going to want to beat Michigan. But Michigan looked like shit. So the game is going to be awesome. I cannot wait. We're going to talk about it. But Michigan got bailed out by the refs. Absolutely bailed out by the Zebras. They should have lost that game to Illinois. There was an awful pick play on 4th down that they just did not call. They defended it like you should. It was just one of the most egregious pick plays I've ever seen. Michigan, if you play like that against Ohio State, you're going to get boat raced. JJ McCarthy, you don't trust him to make throws. Now Blake Corum may miss that game, your Heisman candidate running back. Michigan, you might want to take a deep breath before we head into the game. Florida. You beat Utah, and we talked about Anthony Richardson winning the Heisman. And you just gave Vanderbilt their first SEC win in 3 years? It's awful. I think we may have to talk about whether or not Billy Napier is the guy, to be honest. We're going to have to discuss it. Florida State is going to have a lot of implications this weekend. I think Mike Norvell has done a hell of a job at Florida State, and it'll be interesting to see, that game. And then we got to talk about UNC. You lost Georgia Tech. What are we doing? But more importantly, Drake May had a phenomenal season. And I think UNC could beat NC State. And I think they can still give Clemson, a run for their money in the ACC championship. But Drake May's Heisman run is over. He had a hell of a run. But putting up no touchdowns against Georgia Tech is a surefire way to kill your Heisman candidacy. It is what it is. Tough. I like Drake May. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch next year, and he will be at the top or near the top of every Heisman, discussion as we head into the 2023 season. However, that run is over for 2022. Right now, in my opinion, the Heisman goes through Caleb Williams. He had a phenomenal moment against UCLA. Just an incredible game by him. 500 total yards. It's a awesome Heisman moment. If he goes against this awesome Notre Dame defense and puts up numbies and gets this win, and he gets USC to the college football playoff, they absolutely should give him the Heisman Trophy. Watching him play football is unbelievable. He reminds me of guys in the NFL that can, like a Patrick Mahomes. And I understand that might be a bit of a stretch, but what he can do with the football is unparalleled in college football right now. Him and Bryce Young are just unbelievably special. It's insane what they can do. I'm going to rank the best college football rivalries. We're going to go top 5 for rivalry weekend, and this is just for rivalry weekend, right? So we're leaving out Bedlam, we're leaving out the Red River Shootout, we're leaving out I don't know, a lot of other games. We're leaving out a lot of other games. So Army Navy, obviously we're going to leave out because it's its own beautiful game. World's largest cocktail party, stuff like that. But we're going to go through the top 5 college football rivalries of rivalry week. And at number 5, we have to have the Egg Bowl. The Egg Bowl is between Ole Miss and Mississippi State. It is beautiful. It is a lot of what SEC football should be. These two teams hate each other. The fan bases hate each other, and it's played on Thanksgiving. It is an awesome football game. I have it at number 5 on my list, but the Egg Bowl, and because there hasn't been a lot of historical success between these two teams, like they aren't winning national championships every year. But the Egg Bowl is just absolutely incredible. At number 4, give me Florida State and Florida. You want to talk about these two teams hating each other. The fan bases hate each other. And this is a college football rivalry between two perennial, or at least in the past have been perennial powerhouses. Florida has multiple national championships. Florida State, multiple national championships. In their primes, these two are some of the best programs in college football. An SEC, ACC matchup. This is a beautiful, beautiful college football game. I love Florida State. It's going to be a lot this year. Billy Napier, Mike Norvell. Billy Napier could lose a lot of the fans in Gainesville if they do not pull this game out. Florida State and Mike Norvell can establish themselves a hell of a season if they win this game going forward. I mean, the Florida State has a lot to be proud of if they win this game. I think they will. Give me Florida State in this one. USC Notre Dame is one of my favorite games from, obviously I'm a Notre Dame fan. I love this game. I hate USC. They are just the elitist West Coast fans. But no, this is one of my favorite college football rivalries. This game has been played since 1926. It's unbelievable. And the Coliseum at night is beautiful. South Bend in late November is beautiful when these games are played in these two entirely different venues, but unbelievably historic. They play for a incredible trophy, the Jeweled Shillelagh. It's awesome. It's an Irish club covered in gems. It's unbelievable. I think this is one of the most historic and one of the best college football rivalries, period. And it comes in at number 3 in my rivalry week rankings. And number 2, it's got to be the Iron Bowl. This has given some of the most memorable college football games over the last 2 decades. The Kick Six is a game that will forever live in my mind. When I tell my kids of why college football is so special, it's going to be games like the Kick Six, like Cam Newton's Auburn game against Alabama, like Bryce Young's heroics last season. The Iron Bowl, regardless of what stadium it's played at, whether it's at Jordan O'Hare or Bryant-Denny, it's a beautiful, beautiful game. Smash mouth, SEC football, to an in-state game like Florida State, like the Egg Bowl. I love these in-state rivalries. This is beautiful college football. I cannot wait for the game this weekend. I think Alabama obviously obliterates Auburn this weekend, but Cadillac Williams could have those boys buzzing. It should be a phenomenal, phenomenal Iron Bowl. Can't wait to watch. And then finally, the best rivalry of rivalry week, it's got to be the game. Michigan, Ohio State, especially this weekend. We are going into an 11-0 Michigan and 11-0 Ohio State. This is essentially a college football playoff play-in game. The winner gets in, the loser goes home. You cannot make a better story than this. It is the pinnacle of college football rivalries. I think it is the best of the best. They have been playing since 1897. They are at the Michigan Wolverines are leading this 59-50, it's 50. This game is 59-51-6. One of the most even matchups in all of college football. It is absolutely incredible. And it's played in 2 of the largest venues in college football between the Shoe and the Big House. I love this game. I cannot wait for the game. It is appointment television every single year. I do not know who's going to win the matchup this weekend. It's going to be incredible. Speaking of the best games of the weekend, obviously we talked on some of them. We get the Egg Bowl Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Ole Miss is a 2.5-point favorite. I think Mississippi State has a chance to upset Ole Miss. Should be a great game. I think Lane Kiffin is on his way out. And it'll be an incredible Thursday night nightcap if we get primetime Kirk Cousins. In the NFL, I'm absolutely going to be watching the Egg Bowl. We got to be getting 2 TVs to watch football in today's day and age. We just got to be doing it so we can watch the Egg Bowl. We can watch Turkey Bowl football. We need it. Another phenomenal game. We get Friday at noon. Tulane coming into Cincinnati. Cincinnati, a 2.5-point favorite. I love the Bearcats at home. They have had one of the best home field advantages in college football. I think the last time they lost a home game was either 2020 or 2019. They've been on an absolutely incredible run. Give me and Tulane, both ranked matchup for the lead in the AAC in the American Conference. Should be a phenomenal game. I cannot wait to watch. Another great game, Toledo at Western Michigan should be a good game. A lot of implications for the MAC there. Baylor, Texas is a good game. It'll be interesting to see which team we get. We could get the Baylor that competed with TCU, and we could get the Baylor that got blown out by Kansas State. We get the Texas that blew out Kansas, and we could get the Texas that, didn't put up a fight against several other teams. So we'll see. That should be a really, really good game. NC State, UNC will be a good game. Florida State, Florida. I think Mike Norvell boat races Florida, but we get Anthony Richardson, which should be a great game or a great quarterback to watch. It looks like the line right now for Michigan and Ohio State is 7.5. I like Michigan plus 7.5 in the horseshoe. These two teams are very close. Obviously, Blake Corum playing will make a massive difference if he does. But give me Michigan to cover the spread here. 7.5 is a lot of points in a historic rivalry. Clemson and South Carolina should be a good game. South Carolina just beat the piss out of Tennessee. Going into Death Valley to play Clemson, number 7 Clemson, should be a phenomenal game. I can't wait for that one. Louisville, Kentucky, an underrated rivalry. I know it's obviously much more heated in college basketball, but a great college football rivalry as well. Can't wait to watch that one. Obviously, we get the Iron Bowl, but Alabama's a 22.5-point favorite. Playing for Paul Bunyan's Axe, Minnesota at Wisconsin. Great Midwest matchup. The over-under for this game is 34.5. There's going to be a ton of defense. Can't wait to watch that one. That one's Saturday at 3:30. Another Saturday at 3:30 game, Oregon State. Should be a phenomenal game. Oregon State is a 3.5-point dog. I think they have a chance to upset the Ducks in this one. Oregon State's defense is great. If we can get road Bo Nix. Road Bo Nix is a lot different than home Bo Nix. If we can get road Bo Nix against Oregon State, Oregon has played 2 incredibly difficult games back-to-back. They played Washington, then they played Utah. I think they could slip up against Oregon State. Should be a great, great football game. LSU, Texas A&M, who cares? Notre Dame is a 4.5-point dog against USC. That should be a great game. I absolutely cannot wait to watch that one. Kansas and Kansas State could be a good game. And then you get the what is the Washington? I'm gonna have to look this up. The Washington State rivalry has a great name, and I can't. The Apple Cup, a phenomenal game there. Washington, a 2.5-point favorite against Washington State, should be a phenomenal game. I can't wait for these college football matchups this weekend. Rivalry weekend is one of the best weekends in college football. But now we got to talk about the college football playoffs. This is obviously the podcast releases on Tuesday before the college football playoff rankings. And I'm going to give my predictions here. I think we are not going to see any change in the top 4. I think it's going to be Georgia at 1, Ohio State at 2, Michigan at 3, TCU at 4. We had Tennessee lose, but I also think we're going to see a team jump because USC now has a ranked road win against UCLA in a phenomenal game. I think USC is going to be at 5. I think we are going to get TCU at 6. Not TCU. LSU at 6. TCU's at 4. LSU at 6. And then we're going to get Clemson making their way back in at 7. I think they're going to top Alabama. Alabama did not have an impressive game against Austin Peay. And I think realistically, Clemson, with one loss, has a much better chance to get into the college football playoff with an ACC conference win than Alabama, right? So here is path forward for the college football playoff. Georgia's in. I don't think there's any way that Georgia does not get in unless they lose to Georgia Tech and then lose to LSU, which I don't think is going to happen. Georgia's in. Ohio State and Michigan. The winner of this game will be the 2 seed. It is what it is. I think they're going to obliterate whoever they play in the Big Ten championship. But Ohio State and Michigan, whoever wins that game is going to be number 2. If TCU continues to win out, I think TCU will be the 3 seed. And if they win out, they should be the 3 seed. Do not get it twisted. Their schedule has been difficult. I understand they have not been pretty, that they have won games ugly. TCU should absolutely be the 3 seed if they go out and win undefeated and win out. I think we see 3 undefeated teams as the top 3 seeds heading into our final college football playoff rankings. I think it'll be Georgia, the winner of Ohio State and Michigan, and then TCU. At number 4, I would give a 1 loss, which on a 1 point or on a 1 point loss on a 2-point conversion to Utah at Utah in an incredibly hard fought game. I think a 1-loss Pac-12 champion USC will get the 4 spot. I think you're 6-7 then. I think 6 will actually end up being Clemson, a 1-loss ACC champion Clemson. And then I think the 7 team, the question is where do I want to put Michigan? I think a 1-loss ACC champion Clemson will end up being 5. I think the 6th ranked team will end up being the loser of Michigan and Ohio State. And then LSU with 2 losses will be bumped down to 7 once this all plays out. But I can't wait. I'm interested to see what the college football playoff poll leads to this weekend or on Tuesday night. I can't wait for the college football playoff games this weekend. Should be absolutely electric. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Again, a reminder, the NFL podcast will be coming out Wednesday this week instead of Thursday. And for those of you who have made it to this point, if you enjoy the show, thank you very much. I appreciate the support. I am so thankful as we get into the season of thanks. I am so thankful for you guys who listen each and every week. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And if you guys want to support the podcast, I don't need your money, but what I would love is if you were to send it to a friend and be like, hey, this guy, he makes some great content. Send my stuff to a friend. It's the best way to support me and to support the show. I really appreciate you guys, and we will see you in the next one.